Hello, everyone. This is Alexis Cohen, your host for Awakening Through Art Online Masterclass. Creative practices to activate healing, inspire connection, and activate love all over the world. Kelly Blazer is our next guest, and she is the founder of Dharma Bridge and a licensed marriage and family therapist with an emphasis in Buddhism, Shaiva and Shakta Tantra, and somatic psychology. Her work to help others experience the infinite compassion beneath the chaos of life and to remind them of their true nature. Her programs and courses focus largely on the power of applying the Dharma to one's relationship with oneself and others. She helps people train themselves in meditation, mindfulness practices, and compassionate self-inquiry, so they can gain freedom from conditioned mind and open up to possibility. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, my dear.
Hello.
Nice to be here with you and all of your people.
Yes, so happy to have you here. And so my first question for you is, what is inspiring you the most these days?
Well, I mean, in my practice, the most inspiring thing for me right now is I've just begun in this last year to practice with the Dakini Mandala practice from the Vajrayana, and I'm really loving it. I'll talk more about it if you think it's appropriate, but it's really different for me from what I've practiced in the past. Like, I've done a lot of loving kindness meditation and a lot of Tonglen, which is also from the Vajrayana, but this is like a whole other level. And it's this incredible kind of like arc toward the feminine that's been going on for me really intensely, like super interesting. This is a little bit of an aside, parentheses. So like for a lot of years, I was like really in Buddhist practice, like Zen and Vipassana for many years, like 15 years or something. And well, actually, is that quite right? Maybe 10 years, I guess. And then about 10 years ago, there was like a shift where I started studying Shaiva Tantra. So the teachings and the practices from Kashmir Shaivism. So that's like a system that really believes Shiva to be the ultimate, like the source of all consciousness. And it's really like an allegory for the heart as pure consciousness. And it's an incredible system, right? Like there's this incredible focus on the power to create, the power to maintain, the power to destroy, the power to remember, and the power to forget. And like it's a big long, there's like tons of really beautiful teachings about how to recognize oneself as the one that is creating, preserving, and destroying everything that arises in life, but also the one who is, you know, with the grace of all consciousness, which is totally interconnected, the one who is choosing to forget one's own full nature in order to behave in the world as an individual, and the one who chooses to remember total interconnectedness, and in doing so, like, release the attachments of individual ego. But it's like everything is perfect inside this fiveness. Wow. It's cool because it really gave me a space for like unhooking from terror and panic whenever anything didn't go my way. You know, which one would have thought after 10 years of Buddhist practice I would be done with that, but I've realized like this is just this life's work is to you know, like to grow, right? And to grow beyond the ways that we cling and the ways that the individual identity, the ego structures cling, whatever. So that practice in Shaivism was super deep and powerful for me, but it's a really I mean, Shiva is a male figure, you know, and there's like it's not, this is complicated, but like within Parama Shiva, which is the wholeness, there's also Shiva Shakti, which that's like the complete union of the animus and the anima, of the feminine and the well, Shiva is the masculine and Shakti is the feminine. Shiva is pure consciousness. Shakti is the power to bring into being. So, you know, there is a total unity, but anyway, but it's mostly you know, it's thought of as having Shiva in the center. And then there's all these other paths that really have the goddess in the center. And it took me a really long time to like get around to noticing those traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because, you know, I'm like extraordinarily, almost perversely interested in these traditions, like from an academic and scholarly perspective, and also as a practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And I like study them really deeply. I'm super interested. Like, it's kind of ludicrous. And without really being aware of it, for a lot of years, I was not denigrating, but I was not prioritizing looking at the traditions that held the goddess as the center. Mm. And I can't help but wonder, like, what patriarchal conditioning had to do with that. And, you know, it's like I had this very subtle dismissing of it going on. And then, you know, a few years ago, like this huge, like, light bulb went off. I'm like, Kali, you know, like, what is Kali all about? What is Shakta Tantra all about? And now, what is the Dakini practice all about? So that's from, like, I just took you into Shaivism pretty deeply, and then dimension of Shakta Tantra, and now I'm talking about the Vajrayana for anybody that cares. Mm-hmm. But the Dakini mandala practice is from the Vajrayana. It's from you know, the Tibetan tradition primarily, and I've been really, really digging it. And it's a lot about symbol. And so symbol and art, I think, are, you know, kissing cousins. Like, it's crazy how the mind gets transformed by symbols, by the symbols that we choose to put our attention on, by the way that we let our imaginal realm play with symbol. So the Dakini mandala is basically it's a practice of going into the mandala, which is, you know, a circle, and traditionally like a circle where, like, do you have a tanka hanging on the wall behind you? Is that a tanka? Let me go up.
I can't. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah. So that's in the form of a mandala. You know, there's like deities all around.
Yep.
So in the Dakini mandala, you basically go in and you become each of these Dakinis. And the Dakinis are the sky dancers, they're called, which means they dance through emptiness, which basically means they dance up outside of the personality structure and into the space between. And in that, like, ability to fly through the space between, they have access to all of the gifts. You know, like, every personality structure, as much as we struggle with our own personalities and those of others, has gifts. And you know, it's part of, I think, our evolution is like really owning our gifts and learning how to just like bring it, you know, like, this is who I am, this is what I've got to give to the world, and not like fixate so much on how we're going to get rid of the bad things about our own personality. You know, that's like one angle. But then in dealing with the relationships, like, we get so tripped up by not understanding how other people are seeing the world, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do. Do you?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where all the conflict comes in. It's like when you like want someone to see it the way, like, how could you not see this?
Yeah.
You know, it can get really frustrating sometimes.
Totally. And this Dakini mandala practice is like, it's very much about understanding the distinctions between different personality structures. And it's trippy because there's this amazing overlay with like Reiki characterological structures, which is a thing in psych that most people don't pay that much attention to, but it's an interesting map of personality structures. So it's really crazy to see it in these traditions that are thousands of years apart and, you know, thousands of miles apart. But anyway, like, there's just this kind of acute sensitivity that you get about the different personality structures that are represented by the Buddha families. And I don't know, I don't want to go so deep into it, but I think what people can take away from this right now is this, you know, the real teaching is like, we all have particular proclivities. We have particular tendencies that include our greatest gifts and our deepest shadows, but we also, in a sense, have access to all of them when we allow it. And like, if you believe in like Buddhist teachings, it doesn't matter if you do or not, but like, you know, if you did believe that, then you would believe that Like, you were once my mother. I was
Mm-hmm.
once your mother. Like, I have also been an aunt. I will someday be a strawberry shortcake. Like, not that, but like whatever. Like, consciousness manifests in every possible form. And, they have it kind of like the beliefs about the transmigrations of souls and reincarnations are like kind of storyified, but
Mm-hmm.
if you don't believe in that, like, you could just see it as like energy doesn't ever expire. Energy just transforms into a different form, right? It's kind of the same thing. So the idea is, like, once you get like acutely aware that you actually inside yourself have the capacity to touch every different potential manifestation, then there's just this like just deeper acceptance of how other people are showing up in your world. And there's a bunch of different practices actually that I would love to go on and on about, but I know we have limited time. But
Yeah.
how are
This,
you?
yeah, no, this is awesome. So these are some of the things I love listening to people. And then there's like a few different things that are lighting up that I would love for you to talk a little bit more about. So you talked about shadow work, or the shadow side. And can we talk about the shadow? Because sometimes people are so scared of this, and especially the timing of this project, we're heading into winter, we're heading into, the space for internal reflection and processing.
Yeah,
And we're around our families that, stuff comes up. So can you just talk a little bit about what that is?
sure. Well, so shadow, as I understand it, is, I mean, in the kind of classical psych understanding of it, it's the stuff we can't see about ourselves. And the way that the shadow kind of gets formed is that, as a small kid, like, there's certain ways that you express yourself that are not met with great adulation. And so you learn how to repress them and not identify with those parts of the self. And, that's a good thing. Like, it serves a good purpose. Like, if I grew up in a family that believes in honesty, then even though as a little kid, like, every little kid wants to tell a creepy little lie, right? But like, I'm like, okay, this is my tribe. We believe in honesty. Therefore, I'm going to be an honest person. But the trouble with that is, like, the little tiny, sins of omission, like the tiny little ways that you lie, you're not going to see them anymore, because you believe yourself to only be a good and worthy person if you behave this way, the way that the tribe behaves. So everybody's got a shadow. Like, lying is just one example. But, like, your shadow could be, there's positive shadow too. So your shadow could be that you are, like, brilliant beyond measure, to quote
Mm-hmm.
the classic. Or that you are, you're a healer and you're actually here to have a profound impact on other people's journey. A lot of people would have a very difficult time owning that, because if you own that positive shadow stuff, you're going to stand out. And, historically, this is perfect for artists and spiritual people to think about. Like, people who stand out like that, who buck the current trends, who look at the system differently, who are really unique, they're pilloried, they're burned at the stake, it's,
Mm-hmm.
and it lives inside our consciousness of what's possible in the world. And like that intergenerational trauma that gets passed down, like, it lives in here somewhere. So shadow gets kept intact by these really primal fears and by shame. I really believe that, like, shame and shadow are really interwoven. And we're doing a lot of work right now in my group around shame and shadow. But I think, so one of the things that the mandala work can do is to just, like, loosen the grip of the ego a little bit, I kind of feel like that's like our life's work, like, untie, in Sanskrit they call it the granta, like, untie the granta, the knot at the heart, and loosen up the rigidities of the ego. Like, the ego is, like, so pleased with itself. There's nothing like inherently wrong with the ego structure, but it's when it has taken over the whole system, it's really problematic. So learning how, as you well know, like, learning how to dance with that energy is it's intense and it's so liberating. And that's the work of like, you know, like peering into the shadow. And shadow work is so interesting because like there's some Plato quote, and it's basically like we can spend our whole lives looking for the shadow and then realize that we ourselves were casting the shade. And that's, you know, I think that's like really important to realize. Even people that are like doing this incredible transformational work, like just to understand, like this is a lifetime journey of looking, and we're never going to see it all, you know, never going to see it all. And as long as if we can get to a place where we're like, yes, I will never want for complexity. I will never want for this amazing puzzle to work on. You know, this is life's work. Like you don't get to get to the end. You know, you get to play the game, and it's, you know, it's very satisfying actually to, you know, when you can land there.
Yeah, that, I mean, what you're speaking about for the shadows, and I do think this is perfect for the folks that are watching this, from the people who are new to creative practice to people who are really seasoned, because, you know, for folks who are new to it, you're going to potentially start to uncover yourself as potentially someone, as an artist with a capital A.
Yeah.
You know, I know that happens for a lot of people a little bit later in life. That happened for sure. I was a writer. And then in my early 20s, I was like, wait a second, I'm also a painter. I had no idea, you know? And then, you know, as you were sharing this just now, and you were saying that piece about how we cast our own shadow, I had this image of like, oh yeah, okay. So it's like all of the power. I know for myself, I keep a lot of my power. I have kept a lot of power in my shadow. And as I start bringing that out, it's like, whoa, I am a lot different than I thought I was.
Right.
Yeah. I am not that like girl, that shy little girl who identified so much with being an introvert and quiet. Like, yeah, I have those moments for sure, but something else is happening now, you know, it's like coming out of this, you know, being upfront, being a leader, like all of these other parts that I've always, I guess, have been are like, it's time.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, in some ways, it's kind of the cool thing about the shadow realms. It's like there's a certain gold in there. It's like been unprocessed, you know, because it kind of got cordoned off when we were so young. There's this really raw energy that's kind of locked up in the shadow stuff. And so even though it can be hard to confront, because like, especially if you like to think of yourself as a really nice person, and then you realize like, oh, I am also a selfish person. And I am also like a craving. I'm a person that has craving, and I'm a person that is unconscious of other people sometimes. You know, I have all of these capacities, but in like coming to that recognition, then there's also this liberation of this like almost like spiritual libido, you know, like this raw open energy that's like, and now I actually like my life more, you know, because I've got more energy for actually being curious. And then the other thing, sorry, my phone is buzzing. The other thing is that I think once we start doing the shadow work, it's just like we realize how boring it is to be like so judgmental of other people.
Totally.
Like, you know, and to be so black and white in our thinking, like these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. And it's really tempting. And I get it. Like, I mean, especially right now, right? But who knows? Like maybe always. It's tempting to be on one side and to be like, these are the good guys. These are my people. It's my tribe. And we are battling the badness.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, if you need that, okay, but it's always more nuanced. I mean, there's certain people in office that make it look less nuanced. And there's certainly like people that should not be in office, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I think it opens, like the process of uncovering the shadow in a sense is like really going in and uncovering these wounded places, these really like wounded, whatever, like either it's the ego that's wounded or it's like there's different philosophies around this, but like you're touching into these really raw, vulnerable places and realizing what kinds of choices you made from those really raw, vulnerable
Yeah.
places. And so then if you look out and you see someone making really suspect choices that you do not agree with at all, you start to question, like, what kind of wounding happened underneath there? And is it possible that my life is actually just about coming to a deeper place of compassion? Not so that I can like exonerate that person from responsibility, but so that I don't walk around the world like expecting someone else to do things perfectly.
Yeah.
In truth, like we are the ones.
Yeah. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Yeah. And if you're speaking to something that's like so beautiful and so important around, the wounding and how people behave from the wounding. And I was just talking, I think it was a client or someone yesterday, how there's someone in her life that really caused her a lot of harm, and and continues to, and she's so empathetic and so compassionate. And she's like, well, they've been through so much. And so I'd love for you to speak into that, because what I'm sometimes noticing when we see that, like, okay, there's the wounding and how the person is behaving, sometimes there can be like an opening up to like accepting the poor behavior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can you speak into that?
Well, I mean, this is great. Like, I wish I were teaching the bikini mandala work right now, but I'm not going to in this context. But the dakinis are wrathful. Like they're
Oh
not
yeah.
nice. They're often wrathful. Like they're armed. Like each one has a specific trigo, which is a hooked knife, like the one with a vajra, which is the thunderbolt symbol of the path of liberation and the importance of that, the thunderbolt. And one is, I'm not going to go into all the imagery, right? But like the point is, each one is like capable of really stirring stuff up. And one of the, specifically the Vajra Dakini, it kind of embodies that. Like the Vajra Dakini is the transformation of anger into mirror-like wisdom.
Oh yes.
So, there's an energy in anger that's so clarifying. It's like, what's the right path, what the right path is when there's anger. But anger is also one of the most toxic and one of the emotions that like does the most harm and can blind you the most if you haven't like processed it. So the work of the dakinis, and I really recommend that people look into Lama Sultra Malioni's work, because it's the focus of what she's doing, is really bringing this work more widely. But the purpose of the dakini is to create that transformation. So you touch the energy that's in the shadow, and then you feel the liberated energy. So it moves you from the encumbered pattern to the liberated pattern. It's really amazing. But it doesn't have to be that. I mean, I wanted to say, because this is about this is about art, and it's about kind of like unleashing our creative power. Like I've been having this year kind of a exciting time, like painting Kali and painting the dakinis. And it's amazing how they kind of take life within you when you paint them. So, as we were talking about before, like these symbols they really do transform our perception and open up doors that were otherwise going to stay closed. It's pretty interesting.
I had no idea that that's what you were painting. And so that just the energy, like that practice, how I love doing that. I love painting different spiritual symbols, because it just so deeply integrates, and it starts teaching you on this whole other level, right?
Yeah.
Like the transmission that happens is like it's coming out of you and then back at you. It's like, whoosh, whoosh. Yeah.
It's amazing. I love that you use the word integrates, because it actually, I mean, for anybody that's interested in neuroscience, like Dan Siegel's work is super interesting, and he talks about how the integrating fibers of the brain actually are growing when we're in a state of mindfulness or creativity. He was really good friends with, God, who was it? This poet. I can't remember what the poet's, John O'Donohue. He was really good friends with John O'Donohue before he died. And they did some studies around the brain states that happen when John O'Donohue was writing poetry. And according to Dan Siegel, who's like a very respected neuroscientist researcher, like there are integrating fibers in the brain that if your brain is in that sympathetic rest and digest mode that it can go into when it's either in deep relaxation or in creative energy, like the fibers are getting laid down differently. So you really are actually rewiring the brain in a way that will make you more resilient to trauma and more just, more at peace in your own being, more capable of dealing with the chaos of the world, So creative work, it's not like a luxury. It's not, it is a privilege, but we got to start to treat it. Creative work and meditation work and like this deep nourishing and like resting in this receptivity, I think it's actually really critical. It's really crucial for our just being able to function beautifully in the world, let alone like evolve and transform and be powerful. So
I agree. I had transparently this morning and yesterday, I had really early mornings and I didn't do my usual journaling and art. I do art journaling every morning, and forever. And so the mornings or the days that I, something comes up and I don't get to it, especially let alone 2 days in a row, it is just a different day and a different way that I'm connecting to myself. And it's, it is at this point, it's essential, and things are like sideways a little bit when that's not what is happening first thing. So Kelly, I know that you have a practice for us. Would you like to glide into our practice?
Yeah. How are we doing on time?
We're good. Do you maybe something like in 15 minute realm?
Yeah. Let's do a little something.
Okay.
I actually want to just see where this goes. I'm not going to take people through like a traditional formal practice. I just want to see where this goes. And what occurred to me was, it's kind of close to the end of the year. So it's a really good time to sort of take stock of where we've been and see if there are any sort of stones left unturned, things that we've been, stuff that's left undigested from the year. So, but this will just be a little taste. I usually do these practices around solstice for my community, but a little early solstice. Okay, so let's go ahead and just, well, first of all, if you have to I feel like I need to do this. Like if you need to move your body a little bit to get yourself opened up, then I think that's a good idea. Especially if you've been like sitting in a chair, all slumped over, just kind of create a little bit of space. Move yourself around, maybe shimmy the shoulders a little bit. And then get yourself really comfortable in your seat, ideally sitting upright, and close your eyes. And bring your attention to your breath. And we're going to take a few kind of unique breaths where I want you to imagine your trunk like a jar, like a vessel of sorts. And bring your awareness down to the very base of the vessel and feel the steadiness in the base of the vessel. You might even send a grounding cord down into the earth, a wide grounding cord. So the breadth of it is the same as the breadth of your pelvis. So you've just brought attention to the root, that root chakra that's usually associated with the feeling of groundedness and belonging and stability, kind of psychic stability in the world. And what I want you to do now as you breathe in, I want you to imagine that you're pouring liquid into this vessel, into this jug of the trunk. So it hits the base of the pelvis first, and then the level of water rises. So feel energy rising as you breathe in. Then bring it up to the bridge of the nose and hold. And exhale out through the third eye, and then out through the crown of the head. Okay, and we'll do it a few more times because I know your breathing pattern probably was a lot shorter than that explanation, but now you have a sense. So with your next in-breath, imagine that water hits the base of the jug, so you feel it in the very base of the pelvic floor, then let that energy level rise as you're breathing in, slow, long, deep in-breath. Hold at the bridge of the nose. So imagine that energy level is right there at the bridge of the nose. And then exhale out through the third eye and out through the crown of the head. And do that a couple more times. So every time you initiate your in-breath, you feel it first, like the water is striking the base of the vessel, and then energy level is rising, like the water level is rising in the jug, rises all the way up to the bridge of the nose. Hold for a moment, a little kumbhaka, a little retention, and then exhale out through the third eye and out through the crown of the head. I'll just be quiet for a second and let you do that. Okay, and then go ahead and just let that breathing pattern release. That was just really to bring you into your breath, to get you more present in your body for a moment. And I want you to imagine yourself sitting in a place that is sacred to you. So you might have one of those places in real life, or maybe you draw it out from the imaginal realm. Maybe you can go to a place in nature. Would be ideal, actually, if you could go to a place in nature. Not altogether necessary, but helpful. So I have kind of a meadow, like a glen that I always imagine, but maybe you're at the beach, or maybe you're on top of Half Dome, or next to a river, or wherever you want to take yourself. And feel the kind of energy of that place, the vibration of that place. And then you're sitting on the ground in this cross-legged position, and imagine that there's a ring of stones all around you. So you're putting yourself inside a mandala. There's a ring of stones all around you. And you realize then, not because you've looked and seen anything, but you can kind of feel that each one of those stones represents something that you've been through, or someone that you've been in relationship with this year. So don't worry if it's not clear yet. I want you to just reach down in your mind's eye and pick up one of those stones and bring it into your lap. And see what that stone represents. Something that's important to you. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's an event, something you've gone through, something internal. So give that stone a symbology, a symbolic meaning. And then ask that stone if you are complete with it, if you have accepted completely whatever the relationship had to teach or give, whatever the event was offering you. Ask yourself if you're complete. And if you're complete, put the stone back into the circle and pick up another stone. We're going to speed up this practice a little bit in the interest of time. Ask the stone what it represents, what relationship, what event, what inner change, what conflict even. Ask yourself if you're complete. And if you're complete, put it back. If you're not complete, it stays in your lap. Keep going around the circle. So we're going to be laser focused here. You're going to go kind of quickly around the circle, pick up a stone, ask yourself what it represents. If you're complete with whatever it has offered you this year, put it back where it came from. Or put it back in the circle. You could put it back into a different place in the circle. Like maybe you pick a stone up and you get a hit on what it's provided for you, and you realize that you want it to have your back. And put it behind you. Maybe you pick up the next stone and you realize when you kind of drop into what the energy of it is, that you want to lead with it. Like whatever it's taught you, you want to meet the world with it. So you put it right in front of you. And any stone that you pick up where you feel like you're not quite clear, you haven't quite accepted something unresolved, and keep it in your lap. Keep going, pick up another stone, feel the energy of it, feel the vibration of it, ask it what its name is, essentially, what it represents. Ask yourself if you're complete. Put the stone back into the circle, into the mandala, or keep it there in your lap. Keep going around the circle for a few more moments. Feel each stone, like feel the texture of it, feel the temperature of it. What have your lessons been? What have your struggles been? What have your obstacles been? What kinds of unfoldings have been revealed to you this year? What's been alive in your body? Ask each stone. And once you've touched every stone, and obviously this could go on for quite some time, so you could practice this on your own with a whole infinitude of stones. But once you feel like you've touched every stone you can touch right now, then bring your attention to the stones that remain in your lap. This is all your undigested material. And recognize that if the undigested material is not attended to, it will, as Jung said, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And take your hands and hold your hands above this undigested material that's in your lap. Open up the whole channel of your being. Let the light that is beyond you and also all through you in, and shine that light down on the stones whose lessons you've not yet accepted, whose teachings you've been numb to, whose wisdom you haven't quite been able to stomach. Shine light, feel it in your hands, feel your palms radiating warmth, light. You're the mother of these stones. You're the mother of this undigested material. It's yours. It seems like random circumstance has created everything that's come into your life, but this is yours. It's for you. Feel the warmth in your palms. Feel the stones in your lap. And then we don't have to do all this work in one fell swoop, but if there is anything there in your lap that you are really committed to having freedom around, touch that stone with your hand. Feel the luminosity and the warmth. It's incredibly transformative fire that's coming through your hands. That's your life force. That's your chi, your prana, your life energy. And just hold that stone for a moment. You're just healing yourself. You know, we're using these kind of esoteric symbols, but all you're doing is healing yourself, and you're the one that can do it best. So once you feel complete with that stone that you're holding, put it down in the circle. Okay. And if you have time to stay in this practice, once we wrap up this call, you can come back and sit with these stones a little longer. But also just trust that there's a perfection in the messiness. So sometimes we don't get to a beautiful, complete ending. Sometimes it's just a little raw and open, and that's okay. And put one hand on your heart and one hand on your will center, like around your navel. Setting the intention to let heart consciousness guide the actions that you take in the world. Come from the center of will. Let the heart guide the will. And then when you're ready, and that feels like it landed for you, go ahead and gently open your eyes.
Wow. I could definitely stay there for a lot.
Yeah. Luckily, there's never any lack of undigested material.
Yeah, that was so amazing. And, for everyone who's watching, please share in the Facebook group what came up for you with this practice. And what Kelly said, you can listen to this again and just keep going deeper and spend even more juicy time with that circle. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah. Mandala work is really powerful. I mean, I don't know if you guys could feel that, like what it feels like to be inside a circle. I've had a couple of moments in my life where I've been really like out there, like in another country, things not so great happening, like really alienated from my roots. And I've literally built a circle of stones around myself, and it's been really orienting. And at the circle of stones, it's a circle of symbols of what my heart is connected to. So I recommend that.
Thank you so much for that. And do you have a free gift you'd like to share with us as well?
Yeah, we have a practice that we'll send out.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So
I would tell you more, but it's as yet to be revealed.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, a little surprise. So just click the button on this page and the mystery will be revealed. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And before we slowly close our session together, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I guess just that, it'd be nice for them to know that I lead a program called Dharma Bridge. So for anybody that's really interested in these kinds of teachings, that's what the program is really all about. It's not starting up again for a little bit, but I do work with people individually as well. So you can reach out.
Beautiful.
And just keep yourselves well on your journey. I really recommend being out in nature and creating kind of a kinship with the wildness.
Mm-hmm. I feel so grounded after that, Kelly.
I'm glad. Yeah, it's very integrating. I mean, they say that the mandala work integrates a fragmented psyche. So we get disorganized in our psyches, there's just like so much mind stuff and so many ideas about things, and our conditioning is not usually perfect, like what we learned as kids is not usually perfect. So it's easy to get really off track. So building practices in to reconnect and to basically weave ourselves back into wholeness.
Yeah, I love that. Weave ourselves back into wholeness. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yay. And audience, thank you for being here. And jump into the Facebook group. Let us know how you're doing and what's arising for you. And please check out the rest of the interviews. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.